Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. In it together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC. In it together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Happy holidays, and thank you so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. This is part one of a two-part series on lessons learned. What's next for former candidates of recent local elections? Today, we'll talk to former school board candidates Jim Manning and Hamilton Jacobs, and also Heather Bauer, who ran for Columbia City Council. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Hey.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
I'm looking forward to this conversation because I know that you guys will be able to share some words of wisdom and reflection that not only, I'm sure, help you, but can help us audience members also as we head into the new year. So thank you again. That and more coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, the COVID community updates. With more than 1,000 highway fatalities already this year, South Carolina's Sober or Slammer campaign began yesterday and will run through January 1st with an extensive media campaign and checkpoints to emphasize the danger of drinking and driving. The South Carolina Department of Public Safety and multiple law enforcement agencies partner on this effort to encourage people to call if you see someone driving impaired, and for those drinking to use alternate means of transportation. And South Carolina State University is gearing up for the president's visit tomorrow. Biden will speak at the Bulldogs winter commencement ceremony at 10 a.m. Doors open at 6:30 a.m. for graduates, invited guests, faculty, and staff. Now, the clear bag policy will be in effect, so expect for TSA-style screening. Congressman Jim Clyburn asked the president to speak at the ceremony instead of him so he could march with the graduates because there was not a winter commencement when he completed his degree. This is the first time in the school's history that a sitting president has ever visited the school, and the first time President Biden has been back in the Palmetto State since the election. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and location for COVID testing, flu vaccinations, and COVID vaccinations in and around South Carolina. Visit scdheck.gov for more information. Now, if you are a veteran, you can contact the VA for information about COVID vaccinations. They're handling all veterans. Kroger pharmacies are among the many retailers that are also offering the COVID vaccine. Check the screen for details. CVS is also offering the COVID vaccination, including those located in Target stores. Now, these vaccine sites also do the children's vaccine. Brooklyn Baptist Church has a vaccine clinic that's open 7 days a week, and they also offer the children's vaccine. They're part of Lexington Medical Center. And if you or someone you know, the Richland Connolly Public Library is hosting free COVID testing also in partnership with the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. They're doing it at the library in the village of Sand Hills, as you can see, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. They are also administering the self-test for the COVID testing. Now, if you or someone you know is having some challenges getting to their vaccination location, don't miss your shot. The Comet bus system is offering free rides to catch the Comet to get your vaccination. They are also doing testing and also vaccines at the Comet headquarters at the corner of Sumter and Laurel Street in Columbia. If you or someone is having a challenge making their appointment, Get Set Up is helping seniors and others who are technology challenged to make their COVID vaccine appointment. You can call them for more information. Now, there's several financial pieces of information that are available, including COVID related funeral expenses. If you lost a loved one due to COVID, contact FEMA and you could get reimbursed for funeral expenses. The South Carolina Bar Association and SC Legal Services has a toll-free number and website for rental and mortgage help. Lexington County has a bill assistance program, as does SC Housing and Dominion Energy. They have a assistance for rent and utility program. SC Housing is also offering frontline workers home buying assistance, and the annual Martin Luther King Jr. Harvest Hope Food Bank fundraising campaign and food drive is going on now. You can donate financially or with a non-perishable food item through January 17th. Call the city at 803-545-3100 for more information. Finally, the South Carolina Department of Mental Health has a 24-hour-a-day assistance line from the South Carolina Department of Mental Health. It's called SC Hopes. If you or someone you know is having a challenge coping with COVID, please contact the folks at the South Carolina Department of Mental Health. They want to help you if you need help. You're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor, and we're streaming live on the Tailor Made production page. That's the home of Coping with COVID. Please go over there, hit like and follow and share. Not only will you be able to get a notification as to when to watch Coping with COVID, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 2 p.m., but you can also get all of your COVID-related updates and also watch past shows. We're also streaming live on YouTube. I want to say hi to all of you YouTubers. Thank you so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Please go over there and hit the subscribe button. Now, we also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Now, listen. On the screen, you will see streaming throughout the show all of the information that we just told you, all of the financial resources, all of the testing locations, and all of those things that you need to know. So please don't forget to check the bottom of the screen. The information will be scrolling, and don't forget to post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. This is a conversation I really wanted to have because some of the best lessons we learn happen when things don't go as planned. That's the case with these three former candidates who agreed to come on, and I'm so glad they did, to share their thoughts on the campaign, what they learned, and how they're moving forward. And as we go into the new for 2022, we want to reflect and regroup, and these folks can definitely help us all. Heather Bauer most recently was in the Columbia City Council race, and 2 years ago, she also ran for House Seat 75. The small business owner is also a project manager, an active member of the Columbia community, and has served on boards and organizations across the city as a strong voice for equity, transparency, and collaboration. Thank you, Heather. Thanks. Jim Manning ran in the recent school board race after serving on the Richland County Council since 2008. The retired social worker and administrator for the state also worked full-time for over 10 years with the nonprofit public health organization PAL. So he currently has Gray Hair Solutions, LLC, where he offers conundrum alleviation. I want to know what that means. I want to know what that means, Jim, but I guess we can ask you that at the end of the show. Remember, I want to ask that question. Conundrum alleviation. And last but not least, Hamilton Jacobs ran for Richland School Board and is a realtor at Keller Williams Preferred. He also has the Bridge Over LLC, where he is committed to cultivating his community, constituents, and all children, just like the children you can hear in the background, because right now he's actually on the front lines working with children. Thank you all so much for joining us. I really appreciate you agreeing to drudge up what happened to you a couple of months ago, or what happened a couple of months ago to you. I want to ask first from you, Heather, what went right? And you did two campaigns back to back, girl. You're a soldier. You went out there for House 75 and then went right back out for City Council. What went right in those campaigns for you?
To me, it was all about connecting the dots. And, you know, when I first started my first campaign, the pandemic had just started. And so I haven't run a campaign as we have previously known how to run campaigns. But what I learned right away was that those disparities in our community that we thought we knew about were even greater. So I was able to work on those issues day one with food security issues, getting vaccines to people, our campaign was on the ground doing the work day to day, not just running to get my name on the ballot, but actually doing the work throughout these past really 3 years. So what I saw was that just the work that needed to be done and the disparities that we saw in the community.
Right. Hamilton, what went right in your campaign? This is the first time you've ever run for anything, right?
Correct. It is. It is, Trey. And once again, thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I believe just like Heather, it was just a way to connect the dots. The work that I've did in the past, over the years, for the past decade, just working in my community and with students as I'm working with today. It was just a way to highlight more of what I had already been doing. And so I think a lot of people learned who Hamilton is and what he's really about, what he stands for, how integral and honest he is as a man and holds true to the words that he says. So I believe more of us, so it was kind of like a coming out party for Hamilton. And so it was, I believe that I met a lot of people, built a lot of connections. I was sharpened by those folks like Mr. Manning, that I was able to just hear how he handled different situations and different, not necessarily debates, but we had a lot of different forums where we were able just to voice our opinions and see how he approached those. And so it was a learning experience. I learned a lot. And I believe that because of this and that opportunity, I'm better today.
Yeah. So that's why you ran. Did you see anything specifically that you think, oh, I really did this right, Hamilton?
I believe that I stayed true to who I am. When you're first coming into politics, and one thing that I was smacked on the hand a lot for, just by some of the people that were helping me, was I always said that I'm not a politician. And they had to say, hey, you're running for a political office.
So you are.
At some point, you're going to be a politician.
Oh, you are right now.
Right. Very much so. Excuse me for the background. Hope you guys can still hear me. But my biggest thing was that I really wanted to stay true to who I am and to the true essence of who Hamilton is. Hamilton is a people's person. Hamilton loves children. Hamilton loves people. He loves his community and just helping everybody evolve and become what they were made to be. And so I believe that through this opportunity, I was able to get into apartments and give children popcorn and ices and celebrate with them and give away free food and do some of the things that I was already doing. But I was able just to stay true to me. I didn't change who I was to try to fit a role or fit this particular office.
Right. Thank you, Hamilton. Mr. Manning, now listen, you are a veteran in this. I mean, you have been at the Richland County Council since 2008. You have run several campaigns, but you boom, you winning. What went right for you this time? And what went wrong?
Sure. Well, obviously, the best part of running at that point in time was to be on the campaign trail with Heather Bauer, because she is an exceptional person.
Yeah.
The other thing, that my greatest learning was when you condense for a special election, when somebody leaves office unexpectedly midterm and the state law kicks in. And, I told people this all along. My wife, who'd served on Richland 1 school board, was elected for 12 years. And we were talking around, asking people, who's running? Most often, the answer we got was, running for what?
Right.
So to start with, and, I don't know whether it's good or bad, but the state newspaper used to be what everybody subscribed to, and people knew what was going on. Yeah. And we have all the social media, which means people know what's going on in the neighborhood where they grew up 3 states away, but they don't have an idea that they have a school board election.
Yeah.
So we were talking to people. Nobody knew anybody running. Nobody contacted us. people that we thought would know had no idea. So I told Miss Manning, go down and file, because I don't want there to be anybody running unopposed, because I saw that happen on a recent county council election, and oh, what a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
And even if that person had won, but the fact that there are no community forums, there's no campaign, there's no
Right.
debates,
Right.
there's no invitation. So you get somebody in that they don't even know who they are, to be honest. And as far as being a politician, there is, only hold your head high about that. So honestly, by the time we were at the second forum and I got to know Hamilton Jacobs and I got to know Robert Lominack, if my wife and or I had met and talked to either one of those gentlemen, a Manning would not have filed. So, I was very pleased. I told people, whoever wins. And when I started looking at the money and looking at some past races, because I really didn't even think about it. I mean, I got in because the Mannings did not want anybody to run unopposed, and we certainly didn't want one person running unopposed and even be the wrong person.
Mm-hmm.
And so given that, honestly, I am thrilled to death that I'm not down there dealing with the fact that when the administration starts telling the board about how many teachers, school bus drivers, and everything in between who are not signing their contracts.
Yeah.
And they're not doing it because they're in Richland 1 and they're going somewhere else.
Right.
They're going to be leaving districts all across the Midlands.
Yeah.
And I really, Robert Lominack in particular, scared the daylights out of me. And the more I was hearing from other districts and the anticipation of how short we are going to be, frankly, I'm glad I'm not going to have to be sitting in the meeting hearing the numbers, not signing contracts, and the lack of numbers of applications and no earthly idea about where we're going to find. And everybody, whether you're praying people or not, you better be praying about our public education, because you look at other things politically, but it's going to collapse from within at the same time.
Well, you said a word, right? Several words right there, Jim. Listen, I tell you, it's a hard time to be a public official right now. And quite frankly, you got out. You got out just in time, which I have to say, I was surprised really that you even ran, because you had just recently left Richland County Council.
And that is why, if there would even been 2 years left, I would not have run.
Right.
But the fact that, and that was the other issue, is that there was only 1 year left, and it was a gap year, and just felt like, what I might offer to the voters was, if you want somebody to just come in, ready to hit the ground running, knows the issues politically and otherwise related to mask mandates, COVID, take the heat about it, and to have somebody go in fresh. And clearly the voters appeared to look like they were ready to elect somebody for a 5-year term.
Yeah, we're talking.
I think they'll have a surprise coming next November.
Yeah, Jim Manning, Hamilton Jacobs, and Heather Bauer join us. We're talking about lessons learned from former candidates and what is next in their lives, personally and professionally. So, Heather, what do you think went wrong? Do you think anything went wrong?
Well, I've learned a lot. I think more than ever, I realized that politics is more about money than I care to admit. I really ran a true grassroots campaign, knocking thousands and thousands of doors. But what really showed was that, the money matters. And that means getting your face in front of people, helping. Me running for office before has definitely helped. But I've done a lot of work in the community. And one thing I've learned is that I did not talk about my accomplishments a lot. Over the past 12 years, I've been working in the community, from running nonprofits to building new programs for kids in the city and across the state. So being able to talk about yourself a lot and your accomplishments is really, really important, but really money. And then also learning that, local politics is just as partisan as that's filtering down very fast from a federal level. It's more politically divided than I anticipated. So those are my lessons learned.
Yeah. I want to say hi to John Lakin. He has put a fist up for Hamilton Jacobs, and he says he loves me. I love you too, John. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Hamilton, what do you think? What went wrong in your campaign? And since Heather already talked about what did she learn, that was going to be my next question. What did you learn?
Okay, well, I definitely have to piggyback with Heather. Money makes the world go around. And so, just like she said, I was true to a grassroots campaign. And as Mr. Manning alluded to earlier, we had a short window to try to accomplish a whole lot. And so, more than anything, I believe that just making sure you have that funding behind you, you have that support behind you, the sponsorship, that can really turn the times of an election. And that is really true that when you're able to have that funding, it really makes a difference just in your campaign in its totality. As far as thinking something went wrong, Trey, my family. John is my brother-in-law. Listen, I'm so thankful for him and my wife, Faith, and my parents. And it's just, we believe in God. I'm faith-based, so I really believe that if it was in the plan, it would have happened. And that has been what I've stood behind, that if it was in God's plan for me to be the next Richland County School Board Commissioner, then I would have won on October the 26th. That was not in the plan. So I don't think anything went wrong. I believe that more than anything, a lot of things went right for me. A lot of people that did not know who Hamilton is knows who Hamilton is now.
Yeah.
They get an opportunity to kind of dive into my life and meet my family, my boys, my mother-in-law, my parents. They get to see what my family is about, how not only myself, but all of us sow into the community. I mean, we play funerals, we serve families, we do it all. So they really get to see the sincerity of behind what it is that I've been doing for years. So I believe that more so things went right than went wrong. The learning experience for me was really making sure that you get in front of those people, like Heather say, that really can push those dollars behind you. I hate to say it, but that's a major part of elections, and probably the biggest part, being able to have that funding. You can be as good as you want to be, you can be as nice as you want to be, you can have all the tools and everything that you need, but if you don't have that funding to help carry that message a little bit further, it can be a very hard road or hard mountain to climb. So I believe that if I learned anything when I run next year or the next opportunity that comes available, I will make sure that I'm in the face of the right people, so that we can get some push and get some really help to try to make some things happen.
Yeah, signs, posters, mailers,
right.
radio
Those things
commercials.
cost.
They cost.
Oh man,
They cost.
they cost radio time.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, Hamilton, and Heather knows this too, and I think we may have said this after the first campaign. I think the first time you run, that's an excellent opportunity for people to get to know you. You are, now people know, now you are quote unquote a household name. So the next time you do anything, wrong, good or bad, people now remember you. The first time is just kind of testing the water. I definitely believe that. Yeah. We're going to take you off the car line. Hold on. So listen, Jim, I don't know if you've been in it so long. Did you learn anything? Is there anything new to learn?
Oh, absolutely. And I already said it, but I'll say it again. What I learned was that on a special election, that you don't just kind of casually reach out to people and say who's running. That's what I did wrong. I should have beat the bushes. I should have pretended. What I've said is, if somebody had paid me $500 to find out who was running, I would have found out. But my wife and I casually just kind of talked to people for like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Filing closed at noon on Monday. So we were kind of casually texting as we were running into people. What I did wrong and learned from was that next time I would beat the bushes to find out who was running and meet them to see if they met my qualifications, which are they're serious and they're really going to have a campaign and they're not just crazy people.
Well, let me ask
Had
you,
I
Jen.
done that, I would have met 2 people and there would have been 2 people run instead of 3.5.
Right.
And that's what I learned.
Who
I'll
was the
never
half
make
a
that
person,
mistake
Jen?
again.
Who was the half a person that ran?
You can go back and look at the who filed and whose name was on the ballot, but then they dropped out.
Right. Okay. That's the half. All right.
It's all out there. It's not hard to find.
No, I understand what you're saying. So listen, let me ask you this. Why didn't you do that? Because you're a seasoned professional. You're a seasoned politician. You know better.
Well, so you think I can't learn anything else in life, and I don't want to, and I am not going to go there because I'm always learning new things in life, particularly in marriage. And so, I just keep growing and keep going, and I keep going and I keep growing.
Right. We're talking to Jim Manning, Hamilton Jacobs, and Heather Bauer. You're watching Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Hey, don't forget that scrolling on the bottom of the screen, several financial medical resources for you. So please post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. We're talking about lessons learned and next steps for former candidates. What surprised you the most, Heather?
Oh, wow. I think it's been how many people were in the race. Every time I got a call from my campaign folks, they're like, hey, someone else joined. I'm like, who's that? So by the end of it, I was mixing up their names, and it was a lot of people from forums, and it was a lot. That was the most surprising thing.
That was the most surprising thing. What surprised you, Hamilton? Did anything surprise you?
I think I was surprised by how many people was not notified and did not know about the election.
Yeah.
I mean, it was mind-boggling to go places and really hear that nobody had an idea that there was a vacancy for a Richland County School Board commissioner seat. And listen, the fact that that seat was open, and when you look at the history behind a lot of our South Carolina politicians, most of them start at Richland County School Board. Or at some particular school board in South Carolina. So the fact that so many people did not know, it was just kind of mind-boggling. I was like, wow, this is really interesting that no one knows about this election. And then so many people, Tre, let me tell you, and salute to Mr. Lomanak. Mr. Lomanak ran an awesome campaign, an awesome race. But I'm telling you, when I went to the election polls on November the 2nd, the poller said, if you knew how many people came in here today and said, I want to vote for Hamilton Jacobs, you would be very surprised. And, just the fact that people were confused about dates. I mean, Mr. Manning had jumbotrons and huge posters with that date. I had huge posters with that date. Mr. Lomanak, he had huge posters with that date, and people still thought that they were to vote for Richland County School Board on November 2nd. So it was a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
It was a lot of people with misinformation. So it was just very surprising that no one thought, even the news outlets, unfortunately, didn't think to vocalize more that there was an election for the school board.
Yeah, I think you said that, Jim, that you were, really surprised about that or disheartened because of that. And I do think it has so much to do with, and you mentioned this, Jim. One, there's so many ways that people gain information now. And you can get what information you want. And if you don't want information, you don't have to get that either. And what people want is entertainment and a good time. People really don't want to know about what's going on, and then there's so much misinformation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you're asking Jim to talk, but I will say that I think it was, I saw some things in my last campaign, well, I guess 2 campaigns ago, but the day of the election, precincts being shut down last minute.
Right.
Speaking about like access to voting, and that's something important to talk about, and how not only misinformation, but just general voter confusion is not good. So doing a better job as a city and as a county to let folks know that there are elections. So voter education is so important.
And it's voter education 365, Heather. It's not voter education when an election comes around. It's voter education 365. And it needs to be in the schools, along with, the talk about state government. People need to be advised about when elections are and what they are and that whole process. And those are things I just don't think are happening as much. Mr. Manning, do you want to jump in here at all?
No.
Okay. So let me ask you.
No, you got 2 people that need time, deserve time, certainly more than me.
Okay. All right. So I do want to ask you, because you have been in politics a while. How do you keep going despite the adversity, despite being tired, the strain on your family? Tell us how you navigate that as running as a candidate.
Well, my wife really enjoys time at home alone. So when she kicks me out on a regular basis, I've got to do something. And this is fun, because if I wasn't doing this, I would have never met Hamilton Jacobs.
Right.
I would have never met Heather Bauer. Over the years, I've had more of an opportunity to get to know Heather, just fantastic people.
Yes.
I actually got to know Mrs. Jacobs better than Hamilton on the trail, and just thought the world of her. And they do a great marriage streaming thing, although I did watch it and thought, oh, these young people. So I don't keep tuning in there, Hamilton Jacobs. But, you just meet so many wonderful people. And, we have divisiveness in party stuff when you go to party stuff.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you just meet so many people from different walks of life, because we tend to go to church with people like us.
Right.
Where we work with people like us, meaning that if we're in a public health setting, well, then you're all around public health people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're working at the Department of Social Service, if you're in a school, you're around educators. And politics and campaigning in particular is a way for you, as you're knocking on doors, as you're invited to community events, you just get to meet and know so many people from so many different walks of life. And that's invigorating to me always.
Yeah. Heather, before we go to break, Heather or Hamilton, do you guys want to chime in on how you keep going? And is there a strain on your family, either one of you?
Well, let me say, I think, like I tell everybody, and I tell our church, you just got to continue to put one foot in front of the other. And times are going to be difficult. There are going to be trials and tribulations. But you have to cling closely to those that love you. As Mr. Manning said, my wife and I, we tried to, a state official told me that to keep their marriage intact, they leave politics on the outside of the door. They leave all the election talk, all of those things, they leave it on the outside of the door. When they come into their home, they allow their home to be home. And as Mr. Manning has said, me and my wife have just got closer to each other, even through this process. And now we're giving other people relationship advice and what works for us. We do every Thursday night. Actually, tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, we'll be doing what we call relationships, which is just
like
us, you know. And just imparting into others what helps us strive and grow together. And so those are the things that you have to do, man. Me and my boys. One thing that Mr. Manning will tell you that I did even through this process, Trey, I was at football games and doing lives because I understand that most of all, I'm a father first. I'm a husband first. I'm a family man first. So you don't allow things like elections and politics and political office. You don't allow it to put a strain on your family and on yourself. You have to control what you can control.
Yeah.
And you can control your environment, your surroundings, and what you allow to happen while you go about your daily task. And so I chose to choose my family and then everything else. And it worked. It has worked for me.
Hamilton Jacobs, Jim Manning, Heather Bauer. We're talking lessons learned and what's next from these former candidates. And we're going to come back with more information and more inspiration. And we're going to find out from Jim Manning what conundrum alleviation is. That and more coming up next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Aiken Cockrum. As Miss America, I know that taking care of yourself is important. Part of taking care of your health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is serious and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. 90% of South Carolinians who have it don't know they have it. Visit inittogethersc.org. Take an online test to find out your risk and join a diabetes prevention program. Brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina.
Do you have a gamer on your Christmas list? Computers Unique can fill their Christmas wish. Do you have a student or designer that needs something special? Stop by Computers Unique Dutch Square Mall for all your holiday gift needs. Gaming laptops and desktops, the iMac and Mac Pro Apple laptops, plus the new curved monitors are all at Computers Unique. And with prices starting at $175, everyone can get their Christmas wish from Computers Unique Dutch Square Mall. Call 803-351-5821 for Computers Unique.
The Comet gives me a reliable source of transportation.
It's very convenient to me, and they have wonderful drivers.
It's clean, and it builds community. It's fun to meet people.
It makes me feel like really independent. It's just fun.
Comet's always going to be there, and it gets me everywhere I need to go.
We try to ride every single day. Comedy is our livelihood.
You're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor. We're streaming live on the Facebook page, the Tailor Made Production Facebook page. That's the home of Coping with COVID. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow. Check us out and get notifications Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday when we go live, and also first Monday with comedian George Wallace. We're also streaming live on YouTube. Please hit the subscribe button over there and check us out on Instagram and also on Twitter. Today, we are getting you ready for what's new for you in 2022 by reflecting on lessons learned from past local candidates. Hit the replay button if you just joined us for great insight and information from Hamilton Jacobs, Jim Manning, and Heather Bauer. All join us right now. Heather, I want to bring you back into the conversation. Do you want to be involved in some way in the city or the state, since you were interested enough to run? Is that something that you would pursue being involved in, not as an elected official?
Yeah, I see that my future, it's not going to change much compared to what I was doing before. I was active in the community. I'm serving on the Columbia Food Policy Committee now, working on those food insecurity issues across the city actively. I run my business where we're helping. I saw the little promo before we came back, but we're all about health and wellness and getting people off medications and preventative care for people. I care about people's health and well-being, and that's what I'll continue to do in the city. So nothing's really changing much for me.
Yeah. So you will pursue any type of opportunity to be involved.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as far as running for office, that hasn't even crossed my mind. I told folks after this last campaign, I need to take a nap, and then I'll recalibrate and see what's next. But I'm always, open for new opportunities to serve my community.
Yeah. What about you, Hamilton? Will you pursue any type of opportunity to be involved? Is that something you still want to do?
Yes, ma'am. Of course. Of course. Listen, every opportunity that's available to be involved, and those that may be watching, and those that have opportunities, please reach out to me. But we have a lot of stuff in the pipeline. We have, of course, I have the Bridge Over LLC, which is a mentoring, just a mentoring opportunity for for children, for adults. But we're actually doing something a little bit more intimate and geared towards helping our youth. I've been in a lot of talks with different principals where they just really need the help. And so we actually have the Bridge Builders Club coming soon. Myself and a few other gentlemen that you'll know as soon as we release it. You already know who they are, but we have the Bridge Builder Club coming. My wife and we're giving the relationship advice, doing relationships. Also, next year, I will run for a school board again. Okay. And so I am looking to do a lot in this next year. I see Mr. Manning down there smiling. He already knew when you asked that question, he started smiling earlier. I will, because I do want to represent my district, where I'm from, where I grew up from, well, homegrown. So I will do that. But every opportunity that is available, currently we work with the Urban League Young Professionals. So we're already doing a lot right now. But just any opportunity to help Miss Bauer while we have you on the line, Mr. Manning, while we have you on the line. Listen, please reach out to me if you have any opportunities that you need help, and you just need some muscle, because I'm, along with my wife and my family, would be elated to join forces with anything positive to help our community in South Carolina.
What about you, Mr. Manning? I mean, like I said, you've been with the Richland County, since 2008. You were on for a long time, and now, obviously, you were interested in a school board. Are you finished with? Well, you thought you were finished before with serving, and then you re-up. So, what are your thoughts now about getting ignited and re-involved in the community as a public?
Sure. Well, first off, again, I didn't know anybody running, and I had my reasons. And if I have reasons like the reasons I had this time, I will run every single election if, in my value system and my experience, I see a situation that I question whether everything's going to be all right. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'll say. Did I plan on running? No. Do I plan on running again? No. Do I plan on supporting Heather Bauer in anything she ever runs for, unless my wife is running for the same thing? Yes. Hamilton Jacobs, would love to have a conversation with him about his next election cycle, from what I learned about him and his family on the campaign trail. Mm-hmm. There are other people that I think the world of in this community, and I will be actively involved in what they want to pursue. Mm-hmm. There are people in this community, I will be actively involved in having them not pursue some things that they are pursuing. My community is important to me.
Right.
And for people that, are mad because I wasn't born and raised here and don't think I should do anything here because I wasn't born and raised here, I'm sorry, but when I move in, this is my community. Right. When I move into the assisted living, that's going to be my assisted living. And I don't care who lived there on the day they opened their doors. When I move in, when I go to the funeral home, that's going to be my funeral home, and I don't care how long other bodies have been in there before I got there. Until I leave the funeral home, that's going to be my funeral home, and I'm going to care about it.
All right. I'm interested in knowing what you're going to do in the funeral home. If you're in the funeral home and you're in a box somewhere.
Whatever I can to make it better than when I arrived.
So listen, Mr. Manning, to that point, are there some things that you're thinking about, or if somebody comes to you and says, I want you to serve on a board, or I want you to, what are your interests? What are your interests right now? What do you think you want to be involved in? Anything?
Well, like Heather, I was already involved in a lot of things, and I'm growing my business, Gray Hair Solutions, been there, have the gray hair to prove it. Conundrum alleviation is, I can do strategic planning for a board. I can do coaching for executives. Mm-hmm. But you have people like Pat Noble and Charles Weathers have been doing that for 2 decades, and they're great at it. And that's who you need to hire. But if you hired one of them 5 years ago and you hired another one 2 years ago and it's not clicking with your board, well, now you have a conundrum you need alleviated.
Okay.
And you need somebody just that, will come in from out of left field. Yeah. We'll see things differently. So that's what I put myself out for. And people in interesting ways call me, and sometimes they engage me for a while, and then they call me up and tell me go fly a kite. And then sometimes they call me back. Sometimes they don't call me back. But my business is really growing and developing, doing a lot of work with a group out of Vermont called Community Heart and Soul, which is engaging citizens in small rural towns. And so I'm doing some market developing for them. They've completed that work in Fort Lawn and the town of Kershaw, and we're working with it in the city of Manning right now.
Awesome.
So I'm doing some work with that. I'm also doing some work in death penalty cases and what's called mitigation specialist for alternative sentencing based on a person's background and telling their story in the court. And I'm developing more in that area. I'm still doing some consulting work with PALS. And that's a 15-year endeavor. So I've got more than I know what to do with right now. But anytime anybody comes and asks Jim Manning about something, I'm all ears and let's talk.
All right, great. Heather, what are you working on now? Jim and Hamilton have shared what they're working on. What about you?
Yeah, so I've worked on rebranding my business and kind of, it used to be Workhorse Fitness. If you all know, my motto used to be workhorse, not a show horse. We're now Warrior Fitness here in Columbia, and we focus on small group training, personal training. I do a lot of group personal training with mostly women in the city. We also do kickboxing now and a lot of self-defense. We know it's really important for especially women to learn how to protect themselves. So we do a lot of self-defense classes as well in karate. So I study Zen Shotokai karate at my dojo. It's also a dojo. So we learn patience, discipline, and humility. So it's more about the philosophical part of what it means to practice a martial art and be a good person is really what it's about. It happens to be a physical thing, but it's more spiritual and learning good values.
Awesome.
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Has the campaign affected any of you negatively or positively? Anybody who wants to jump in?
I'd say it's the answer is the same, but both. You literally learn to test your values and to be who you are as a person going through a campaign, because there's so much external scrutiny that you could potentially listen to that can change who you are as a person. And I did not waver from that one bit, and that's probably why I lost, and that's fine. But I will never change who I am. I ran the campaign I wanted to run. I'm proud of it. And, it does test certain relationships with people, but what that does do is that brings the right people into your circle.
Yeah.
Listen, I think Heather hit the nail on the head. I'm telling you, you learn people more than anything through this process.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you learn who to trust and you learn who not to trust.
Right.
And I believe that that's neither positive or negative. I just think it's the way that life unfolds.
Yeah.
You have some people that you feel are in your corner that show you differently. And then you have those people that come out of the woodworks and try to push you over the top. And so you learn people, you learn a lot of different things. You learn what you should and what you shouldn't do and how to approach the next time, as Heather said.
Right.
And so I believe that most of all, if it does anything for you, it reveals a lot. It reveals a lot. It reveals a lot about yourself. It reveals a lot about the people around you. And it reveals a lot about how to approach other opportunities.
Yeah. And, I think sometimes that can be hurtful a little bit. It can be definitely uncomfortable, but it's so needed. It's so needed for us to know who's who and what's what.
Right. Exactly.
That first time can sting a little bit. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You learn really quickly, oh, this is how this works.
Right.
And,
very quickly.
You stick to your, your guiding principles, and you have to protect that spirit around you.
And I will say for those that have an interest in going into politics and going into anything.
And that was my next question, Hamilton. Thank you.
Trust those people that are close to you. Trust those people that's been with you through thick and thin, that's been there all the time. And that's not to say that you can't learn anything from new people, but those people that's been with you in the trenches, don't forget about them when it's time to do something new or going to a avenue or a place that you haven't been. Because believe it or not, those are going to be the people that are there, whether you win or whether you lose.
Yeah.
And they have no ulterior motives. They are there just because they genuinely care about you. They love you. So I would just suggest to anyone that has any interest in going into this field, going to anything major in their life, make sure that you plan, that you have a vision for what you want to do, and that you're trying to stay true to that vision as possible. Follow it line upon line, precept upon precept, and make sure that you keep those people close to you, because usually those are the people that are going to shield the other people away from you.
Wow. Yeah. Heather, what do you think? Any advice or insight to anyone that may want to venture into politics or any, big life-changing decision? Because that's what this is.
Yeah, you're putting yourself out there. Most folks before I ran for office thought I was from a really upper class family from Beaufort. They had no idea I was raised by a single mother in a trailer that burned down back home. So it was a process to tell your story and to be vulnerable, really for the first time to my community. And they're like, oh wow, I had no idea, but I related to people.
Yeah.
But it's true. Jim helped with my first campaign. He helped with my second campaign. And I have a close-knit group of people who helped me behind the scenes, and they were with me my first campaign, and with me my second campaign. I think that shows, one, the kind of person I am and candidate I am, and then two, they believed in me, and you can't change that for anything. So I'm just so grateful for the friends that I've made. I've made lifelong friends going through this process, and trust your gut too. You're usually right. So yeah, trust your gut.
We're going to end with you, Jim. Any words of wisdom, advice, insight that you want to share as we move into 2022 for anyone who may want to venture into something major in their lives, whether it be a campaign or something else, another venture?
Yeah, so I'll tie the last two question years in together about positive and negative. So you need to be like a battery and take positive, negative, and be charged up in the middle.
Yeah. All right. Well, you just dropped the mic. Thank you, Jim Manning, Heather Bauer, Hamilton Jacobs. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing, for being vulnerable, for being open, for being honest. And thank you for running. And thank you for your service to the community. We wish you good luck in your future endeavors and wish you God's peace and abundant blessings every day, and especially during this holiday season.
And thank you for what you do and having us.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim, so much. Thank you guys so much. Listen, if you have a story or initiative that could help someone cope with COVID, please email booking@copingwithtretatailor.com. That information should be scrolling at the bottom of the screen. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtretatailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like SCDHEC, In It Together SC, and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina. They sponsor Wellness Wednesday. Also, Javis Tax Service, Palmetto Media Connections. Also, the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office, Attorney Byron Gibson. They sponsor No Justice, No Peace on the first Thursday of the month. And then, of course, Palmetto Painting Services, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Comet Bus System, Black Expo, and Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Now, tomorrow, part 2 of Lessons Learned, we'll talk to Tamika Isaac Devine, who ran for mayor of the city of Columbia, along with 2 of Heather's former running mates, Tyler Bailey and Deetra Stover. That's coming up tomorrow on Coping with COVID. Also, next Wednesday, the Epilepsy Show. We bust the myths, share the facts, and talk to people who are advocating and providing support. Then next Thursday, J. Anthony Brown murders the holiday hits. George Wallace shares his favorite and least favorite holiday memories. And SOS, Holiday SOS, Save Our Songs with Capanda Narciso. All of that and more next Thursday. And then Friday, which is Christmas Eve, Regina Skeeters tells us about her holiday song and video. And Jimmy Wright with the House of Heather gets us ready for Kwanzaa. That and more coming up on Coping with COVID. As always, I leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. Today is the 16th of December. And Jesus says, I am speaking in the depths of your being. Be still so that you can hear my voice. I speak in the language of love. My words fill you with life and peace and joy and hope. I desire to talk with all of my children, but too many are too busy to listen. The work ethic has them tied up in knots. They submit wholeheartedly to this taskmaster, wondering why they feel so distant from me. Living close to me requires making me your first love. Jesus says, I should be your highest priority. As you seek my presence above all else, you experience peace and joy in full measure. I am also blessed when you make me first in your life. While you journey through life in my presence, my glory brightens the world around you. That's your Jesus Calling for today. It's Thursday, December 16th. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Take care, stay well, and please get your vaccine. And don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. I'll see you later.
Coping with COVID. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In It Together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council. Presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC, In It Together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.